Deputy Director of the FBI, Dan Bongino, is furious with Pam Bondi over the Jeffrey Epstein situation. Canada just got hit with a big tariff after refusing to work with President Donald Trump. RFK Jr., HHS Secretary, has people scratching their heads with a new announcement he just made, which seems to do the opposite of what he's been preaching. And President Trump is headed to the Supreme Court over the E. Jean Carroll accusations. Thank you guys so much for liking and sharing these videos. It really helps me out. So thank you so much. President Trump has just announced a 35% tariff on all Canadian imports, set to take effect next month, according to a letter sent to Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney. President Trump justified the action by accusing Canada of failing to do enough to stop fentanyl from entering the United States. He stated, "If Canada works with me to stop the flow of fentanyl, we will perhaps consider an adjustment to this letter. These tariffs may be modified upward or downward depending on our relationship with your country." Now, previously, Canadian goods faced a 25% tariff with certain exemptions under the 2020 USMCA trade deal. Trump has also taken aim at Canada rhetorically, claiming the United States doesn't need Canadian products, and floated the idea of Canada becoming America's 51st state. Shifting from trade tension to legal battles, a federal appeals court in the Second Circuit has upheld a jury's verdict finding President Trump liable of talking about sexual abuse and defaming writer E. Jean Carroll, who alleged that he took advantage of her in a department store in New York City in 1990s. She basically says that he R-worded her, even though there was significant evidence that this never happened. What the defamation is that he said it never happened. They never did prove that it actually happened. Now, a 3-judge panel affirmed the lower court's decision, rejecting Trump's appeal. Following this rule, Carroll took to X, writing, "Old man, so long. The United States Court of Appeals bid thee farewell." Now, President Trump has 90 days to petition the Supreme Court for a review. In a statement on CNBC, a White House spokesman dismissed this case as another liberal lawfare, claiming President Trump continues to enjoy strong public support and calling for an end to the political weaponization of our justice system and the dismissal of witch hunts, including the Democrat-funded Carroll hoax. Keep that in mind, this Democrat-funded hoax. Now, the spokesman also emphasized that the Attorney General determined the Department of Justice should defend the president, as the Carroll allegations stem from comments made while President Trump was president of the United States. The Hill has reached out to the White House, but they have not replied. Now, this lawsuit wasn't thought up or paid for by E. Jean Carroll, but a Democrat billionaire that openly admits to hating Donald Trump and having the desire to stop him at every turn. The billionaire associated with funding E. Jean Carroll's lawsuit against President Trump is Reid Hoffman, who made his money by co-founding LinkedIn. Court documents and reports confirm that Hoffman, a prominent Democrat donor, provided financial support for E. Jean Carroll's legal efforts through a group called American Future Republic. So they tried to bury it, but the paperwork showed that it was him behind the money. His involvement was disclosed later by Carroll's legal team. Now, he said that he's supporting this because he is committed to countering Trump's influence. All right, now here's another one. A coalition of left-wing NGOs, non-government organizations, tied to George Soros and now his son Alex Soros, are backing a lawsuit aimed at stopping President Trump and Homeland Security from deporting people from Honduras, Nicaragua, and Nepal. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem recently announced the termination of temporary protected status for Hondurans and Nicaraguans following a similar decision for Nepalis last month. Originally established under the Bill Clinton administration, TPS was meant to be a short-term solution, which has been extended by almost 30 years, following hundreds of thousands of migrants that live and work in the United States without legal status. The lawsuit filed by migrants represented by the National Day Laborer Organization Network, the Haitian Bridge Alliance, and others accused President Trump and Kristi Noem of acting racially biased, that this whole thing is about racism because these groups that were brought in by Biden and Bill Clinton were not European countries. So the left funds a lawsuit against Trump that tries to undermine America, then screams racism as the primary motivator of Donald Trump. This is such a classic Democrat move. All of our eyes are open to it, and nobody's buying it anymore. Now, financial records show that the National Day Laborers Organization Network has received millions and millions of dollars from George Soros, including $460,000 in 2019 and $675,000 in 2022. And the Haitian Bridge Alliance received over $500,000 from the Soros family. Now, the Soros affiliated network is also reportedly involved in additional legal challenges targeting President Trump and the White House, ranging from efforts to block federal immigration enforcement to ending birthright citizenship for foreigners, to attempts to track down a crackdown on migrant child trafficking. Why on earth would somebody fund blocking child trafficking? That just makes no sense to my brain. All right, now the FDA's full approval of Moderna's Spikevax mRNA COVID-19 vaccine for at-risk children between 6 months and 11 years was not only approved, but discussed by RFK Jr. in a stunning slap in the face to MAHA, Make America Healthy Again voters. RFK Jr., known for his fierce opposition of the COVID-19 vaccine, Kennedy has championed their removal from the childhood vaccine schedule, arguing there is no scientific data that proves they are necessary or beneficial, a stance echoed by top handpicked doctors and scientists at HHS. This sudden approval of a new COVID vaccine shot contradicts prior rhetoric and actions, leaving supporters reeling. The move has fueled accusations of hypocrisy, with many questioning whether political pressure or a shift in priorities has undermined RFK Jr. and the MAHA movement. Why would you say it's bad, there's no data, it's removed, and then approve a new one? It makes no sense. Now, let me know in the comments, does this have you confused? It leaves me very, very confused. I swear, just when I feel like we're making headwind and moving in the right direction, they pull the rug out from us. It just goes to show that we have to focus on our own health journey. All right, now I learned something crazy. Your body has its own repair crew called stem cells. They can fix your heart, liver, skin, whatever's damaged, they can move in. But most stem cell therapies are illegal in the United States, not because they're unsafe, but because they threaten the work of Big Pharma. The FDA has blocked these treatments, and people are forced to go overseas or fly to places where it's legal, but it costs a lot of money. We're talking tens of thousands of dollars. One clinic in Los Angeles, California, charges $50,000. But there's a natural way to activate your own stem cells, and it comes from high flavanol cocoa. Studies show that the flavanol in cocoa stimulates stem cells to come out of your bone marrow like bees come out of a beehive into your bloodstream. Don't take my word for it. Listen to this Harvard scientist, Dr. William Lee, as he explains it.
If you take the really dark chocolate, like 73% cacao, the really dark chocolate, and you make it into a high flavanol hot chocolate drink, and you have it twice a day. This was a clinical study. They found in people who wound up actually drinking the hot chocolate twice a day over the course of a month, they doubled the number of stem cells compared to the people who didn't drink hot chocolate, right? So when you and I are growing up, right, in grade school, we learned from our teachers that starfish can regenerate, salamanders can regenerate, but people can't regenerate.
Yeah,
right?
Can't grow a new arm.
It's true, you can't grow a new arm, but we do regenerate. We regenerate every day. We know that we regenerate because our hair falls out and grows back. Our gut lining grows back. Our livers can grow back. If you actually remove part of your liver, it'll grow back. Our skin grows back. Our bodies possess the ability to regenerate through stem cells.
That's right. Dark chocolate. Most chocolate is destroyed during the chocolate making process, and it destroys those beneficial flavonols. Black Forest supplements fixed that. They made the first high flavonol cocoa powder, just 20 calories. You can put it into coffee or milkshakes or whatever you want. This isn't regular cocoa. It's a stem cell boost because it doesn't go through the refinement process, which breaks it down. Now, if you're aging fast, recovering slow, or feeling off, it could be your stem cells. This is real proven science, but it's being hidden from you because it's pain-free. People can be self-reliant, and you can use it to activate your own stem cells. Now, right now, there is a extended 4th of July promotion where 45% off. I'm going to put a direct link down below. Just follow that link. Go learn about this. It's blackforestsupplements.com/Steve. Yesterday, I showed how super lawyer Alan Dershowitz said there is absolutely an Epstein list, and he's seen it with his own eyes, but he's under a gag order not to talk about it. I also showed you the FBI released video isn't actually a video of Epstein's jail cell. Well, now Jeffrey Epstein's brother, Mark Epstein, has publicly rejected a joint DOJ and FBI memo concluding that Jeffrey Epstein unalived himself, citing extensive review of evidence. The memo also claimed there is no existing client list tied to Epstein and no proof of blackmail, contradicting earlier remarks from Pam Bondi and others. In an interview with News Nation's Chris Cuomo, Mark Epstein slammed the memo, saying it further reveals government incompetency and calling a related comment by Kash Patel stupid. Now, Mark Epstein stated every time they say something or try to do something to quash that he most likely was killed, they put their foot in their mouth. Then Kash Patel came out with this statement. I laugh at how stupid it was. Mark Epstein has also said on several occasions he believes that President Donald Trump ordered the execution of his brother while incarcerated in order to silence him on behalf of his friends. This seems odd since most accuse the Clintons of being the more likely candidates to be involved in this situation. Who knows? I'm just hoping that one day the truth will come out. Now, investigative journalist Laura Loomer, she's loved, she's hated, she's feared because she is so good at gathering data. She put out some one-of-a-kind intel earlier today. So let's go through that. She said, scoop, Kash Patel and Dan Bongino are livid with AG Pam Bondi over her DOJ memo and the lack of transparency from her office regarding the Jeffrey Epstein files. Sources tell me Dan Bongino is taking the day off from his job as deputy director of the FBI. There's now speculation on whether or not he will return to his job at the FBI over disgust with Blondie's lack of transparency and handling of the Epstein files. Pam Bondi has brought total embarrassment to President Trump, J.D. Vance, Dan Bongino, and Kash Patel. She has also lied to the American people. I'm told Kash and Bongino are furious with Blondie and the blowback she has caused them with her lack of transparency. Kash Patel and Dan Bongino should call for Blondie's public resignation today. to save themselves and also push for full transparency into the Epstein files. This is an issue the American people care deeply about. Someone needs to be fired for this. Giving Blondie courtesy to resign is more than she deserves. Trump should just fire her. Now, I'm reading online that Dan Bongino is considering leaving the FBI. He's done. He left a podcast that made him $20 million. On the other hand, he made a lot of that money talking about the Jeffrey Epstein files, all of the elites, Hollywood politicians that are on that list. So he may end up leaving and going back to a podcast that's lost a lot of credibility. Now, I know many of you believe that he's telling the truth. You believe Kash Patel is a truth teller. I don't know Pam Bondi, but I don't know that she is a liar. This could just be a major fumble. It definitely looks bad, but let me know what you guys think down below. Now, I'm also reading over on Charlie Kirk's page that there was a huge blow up, a fight. There was yelling. You could hear all about it. But then Pam Bondi and Dan Bongino left the office. They said, we're good. We're moving on. But again, Dan Bongino is now taking the day off because he's so agitated. On the global stage, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who serves as President Trump's national security advisor, met with Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov for 50 minutes in Malaysia during a regional forum. Marco Rubio confirmed that Lavrov presented new proposals for peace negotiation in Ukraine, calling them a different approach that he plans to discuss with President Trump. He also conveyed Trump's ongoing frustration with Russia's lack of flexibility in the effort to end the war, while emphasizing that the United States remains committed to engagement. Now, yesterday, I told you that President Trump has approved weapons to go to Ukraine. Many of you were frustrated, so was I. President Trump has now clarified that. He said, this is true, but NATO is going to have to buy them from American companies at full price. So on the one hand, that is the right thing to do. On the other hand, it just continues to back up the fact that America is controlled by the military-industrial complex. So this war needs to come to an end. I don't blame Trump for it, but Russia, Ukraine, come on, get to the peace table. Let's get this thing over. Over 1,000 people are dying every single week in gruesome battles with drones and bombs and missiles. It's very, very ugly. In fact, today, Russia accidentally hit a hospital and it hit the maternity ward where there's new babies, mothers, women giving birth. This is just absolutely asinine. This needs to come to an end. Now, Russia's foreign minister, Lavrov, described the meeting with Marco Rubio as substantive and frank, noting that they also discussed Ukraine, Iran, Syria, and other key issues between the two nuclear powers. Both sides reaffirmed a mutual commitment to peaceful solutions and expressed interest in restoring economic, humanitarian, and diplomatic ties, including the resumption of direct flights from the United States to Russia, from Russia to other parts of the world. Meanwhile, Russian forces continue to attack Ukraine with drones and missiles, and Ukraine continues to attack Russia with drones and missiles. Either way, America's banks and the military are making a lot of money off of this war. It's disgusting to me. I just wish the whole thing would be over. All right, President Trump, right now, he's on a helicopter heading to the airport so that he can fly to Texas to see what else the government can do to help with this mysterious megastorm that dropped over 100 billion gallons of water in 2 hours, killing over 100 Americans and sadly over 20 children that were camping in the area. Very, very sad. All right, let me know what you guys think of these stories. If you could, give this video a like. I would appreciate that. Stay amazing, and I will see you on the next video.